Well, there is a fascinating new report. It's from a think tank called Policy Exchange. You may have heard of them. They're the biggest and I would say most influential think tank in Westminster. They're a group of people who do a lot of work, research, look into a lot of very important events, and they've got a number of backers for a very interesting report into trans in sport. We're going to talk to Lottie Moore, who is Head of Biology Matters at Policy Exchange, in a second, but a number of sports stars are backing this. Martina Navratilova, Sharon Davies, Daley Thompson as well, someone I'd want with me on a desert island. They have joined forces to back a new Policy Exchange paper exposing how gender ideology is compromising the fairness and safety of women and girls in grassroots sport. This isn't about high-level competitive, well, it is competitive, of course, but it's not about professional sport. It's about grassroots sport. And Lottie Moore is with us. Lottie, thanks for taking the time this weekend to chat to us. This is very, very interesting. A lot of it is about gender self-ID as well within sport. There are very, very clear things in many aspects of our society, but sport is a very important one, where men and women are just different. They are differently made. They compete in different ways. You've done some analysis of all of this. Tell us your findings, Lottie.
Yeah, so the report from Policy Exchange, it's sort of saying, I guess, what until very recently was not controversial at all, which is it is unremarkable scientific fact that men are physically stronger than women, and that matters in sport because performance based on physicality is what is being assessed. So sex categories exist for that reason. That's why we have age categories, disability categories, sex categories, because categories recognise that everyone should have the chance to safe and fair competition. What is happening, particularly among grassroots level sport, is that men who are identifying as women are coming into our sports at grassroots level and taking medals and places and places on the podium where they otherwise would never have been because of those differences in those physical differences.
Yes, and it's interesting you've done some analysis of actually if men and women were to compete together, for example, the top male serve at Wimbledon in 2023 at least 18 miles an hour faster than the top female serve, for example. Every British long course swimming record broken by an elite female swimmer has been beaten by a teenage boy swimmer. Yeah. In county athletics, the winning male from the slowest county running in the 1500 metres this year would beat the winning female in 27 out of 33 counties. So we're in a situation, I mean, how big a problem is this really? Are there lots of people at the grassroots level who are attempting to change their, or self-ID, changing their gender and saying, look, I'm a man or I'm a woman, to game the system perhaps? Or because that is their genuinely held belief that they want to change their gender, that's a process they've been through?
So yeah, that's a really good question. And on that point, I would say it is actually entirely irrelevant whether someone wants to change their identity, because sport is not played by identities, it is played by bodies. And I think the other thing is how big is this problem? It's not necessarily how big the problem is, it's the potential impact of just a tiny minority of people doing this. For example, the winning female from the London Marathon this year would be beaten by the 231st ranking male. So that's one male who potentially could beat 230 females. So that's 230 females affected. Mm. And I'll also refer you to you may have heard of what happened in Sheffield earlier this year, where a trans-identified male was playing in a open age category women's league with several 16-year-old girls in that team, managed to cause a season-ending injury to one of those females. Two of those teams subsequently pulled out and said that they're no longer going to participate in the league if they have to play against this male. And if you take the fact that there's, generally there's 12 footballers in a team, how many people is that affected? So I would, again, another example is parkrun.
But you're giving those examples, and that's fine, Lottie, that's fine. But is there statistical evidence to say that this really is a problem, that there are lots of people who are doing this in grassroots sport? We've heard examples, but is there evidence to say, look, this is actually 1% or 2% of people within these sports?
Well, again, it's very difficult to work out the actual percentages on the basis that because gender self-ID is the nature of gender self-ID and the data collection that we have means that anyone can identify as any gender, particularly if you look at Parkrun. We know that this is happening every week at Parkrun. There are 16,000 people, as of, I think, last year, there were 16,000 people that were ticking a gender identity that was different from their biological sex.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 16,000 people. That's a large number. We know that there are plenty of parkrun records that are held by males, plenty of female parkrun records held by males. Particularly, there's one who's an attempted murderer, actually, I think convicted murderer, Lauren Jessica in Aberystwyth. So, I think there's 14 million women and girls that are active in England. Most of us are not professional athletes. And it's most of us are involved in physically active, not at a professional or elite level. So that's the kind of numbers that we're talking about.
Okay. Well, Lottie, thank you very much indeed for that. Good luck with your report. That's Lottie Moore there, who is from Policy Exchange. She is the head of Biology Matters at Policy Exchange. So that report is in regard to the safety of women and girls in grassroots sport because of trans-identifying people within that. Martina Navratilova, Sharon Davies, Daley Thompson, they are all endorsing that report.